Hey, Kyle here. This is the third video in our 5-part series on how to study the Bible. In this video, we're going to cover the second letter of our acronym that we are using to study the Bible, COMA. C-O-M-A is the acronym, so we're going to look at O. O stands for observations. And here's what I want to stress with this letter. Don't give in to the lie that when we make observations about the Bible passage that we are going to read or that you have read, that the observations have to be profound or overly spiritual. In fact, do the best you can to take a new look at the passage, even if it's a familiar one that you have read before. A fresh look with new eyes, changed life circumstances, and the work of the Holy Spirit may help you notice something new. Which leads me to the first question to ask when making observations. What stands out, or what do you notice in the passage? It's here that I think a paper Bible is extremely helpful because you can look for phrases or repeated words and actually underline them with a pencil or a pen, or even highlight little sections. Maybe there is a verse or a phrase that just jumps out and almost just grabs you. Maybe it's something that you haven't noticed before. Now, I know you can do this with your phone too. You can highlight and make a little note. But the point here is, as you notice and make some observations about what stands out, it helps you answer the next two questions. And these two questions are paired up. And they are, what does this passage teach us about God? And the third, or the second piece of the pair, is, what does this passage teach us about humanity? With these questions, we are looking for description. They naturally lead us into the next letter of our acronym, the M, or meaning. But we aren't quite there yet. And so when we get an honest description about who God is and who we are, God begins to work on our hearts. And this is where the work of transformation begins, is when we take an honest look about what we see about God or what we can learn about God in the passage. And then also what we can see or what we can learn about ourselves in light of the characters or the phrases or the sentences being used in the passage. And the final question for observations is, what questions remain? So it's a question about questions. And this is really pivotal because you may not understand exactly everything that you're reading. And you might have a question about this character or this phrase or this sentence, or what does it actually mean? And when you have lingering questions, it's actually a great prayer point for you with God. And so anytime there's a lingering question, pause for a second and ask for God's help. And pray about it and ask Him to show you what that means. Now, if you keep reading at verses or chapters later, typically that question is also answered. But I don't want you to pass up an opportunity for you to ask God to show you what He wants you to see within His Word. And so the four questions are, what do you notice and what stands out in the passage? What does this passage teach you about God? What does this passage teach you about humanity? And what questions still remain? In the next video, we will talk about how we go from making observations to discerning meaning. And we hope that this video equips you to read the Bible so that you become a better follower of Jesus in your everyday life. Make sure you hit subscribe on our Generations Church channel so you can stay equipped as we seek to expand God's family because of Jesus for generations to come.